Hi, it's nice to see you again, Abraham. I'm a teacher, and I want to be the very best teacher that I can be. I mean, I'm always learning and growing, and I'm looking back at my past experiences, and I feel like I'm learning from that. However, in listening to what you're saying, I've been garnering a lot of confusion, and that is, I feel a responsibility to my job, especially with accountability and No Child Left Behind. There's a lot of pressure on teachers to be accountable for their teaching and their instruction. And in that, I have also believed through the years that it's my job to help kids be responsible for their own learning, accountability for getting their work done and things like that. I know kids don't like to fail, and so I felt that it's my job to help them succeed as much as possible. However, then I get lost with, what is that child's true desire? What is my responsibility to the child? What's my responsibility to my job? And a lot of confusion comes in. So, I mean, I bring kids in and I'll say, you know what, honey, you didn't do your homework at home, so you come at lunch recess. And the kids pretty much know that.
The thing that is confusing you is that you keep trying to review their experience through their eyes, and you can't do that. Your job is to do what feels best to you. And we know that when you're dealing with others that you try to factor all of this stuff in, but the question that we would like to ask you is, which feels better to you, to fail them or to find success for them? Which feels better to you? And we know there are many factors. There are their parents, there are the children, there's the school system, there are your superiors, there's all kinds of people that you're trying to jump through all kinds of hoops, and in the process you don't know what to do. When you bring this back into what feels good to you, then you'll always know what to do. And when you know what to do, then you will feel less invested in what they do with what you've done. You are much more than the teacher in that classroom.
I know.
You are a teacher of vibration, and you are a teacher of well-being. And those are the two worlds that are clashing for you.
Yes.
You are in a school system that demands behavior from you that does not encourage aligning with Source. You are in a system that encourages using standards that are outside of you to perform the action no matter how you feel about it. And so it's going to be an interesting bridge. You can make it where you help them to understand that it is very important how they feel. In other words, you're going to reintroduce to them, and you may be the only person in their life right now who gives them the psychological permission, so to speak, to feel the way they feel and to discover that they have control over the way they feel. Wouldn't you like to give that to everybody?
Yeah, I would.
Yes.
My fear is that if I do that, they'll blow school off completely. Just say, hey, all it's important is to feel good and the hell with grades.
Jerry always talks about the pendulum swings way over here, and then it naturally, because contrast causes desires to be born, then it begins to swing the other way. And it gets about here, and Jerry will say, oh, that's perfect, but then it keeps going over there. And then contrast will cause it to begin swinging the other way, and then Jerry will say, oh, that's perfect, but then it keeps going the other way. And that's sort of what you did just now with that, because we're not encouraging you to give them a blanket statement, do whatever feels good to you, because of course they will swing from the chandeliers in defiance. We're encouraging you to sensitively acknowledge where someone feels and help them to bridge incrementally. And so within the framework of what they're dealing with, in other words, if there's a particular subject that they're struggling with, give us an example of someone who has a particular struggle about something. We want to hear about someone that you still believe that you will have time with, so that we could show you the approach that we would begin to take in light of this emotional guidance scale that we've been talking about here today. Someone who really has your attention.
Okay, it's a young guy who's gifted, and he's kind of in the light of his sister. I mean, she's gifted, but she's gone through all the hoops with amazing ease, and it's almost like a challenge. Every hoop is a challenge for her. And he's feeling that uneasiness about he's going to try and follow in her shoes. I think he thinks I have some preconceived ideas about who he is and what he should
So
do.
how does it manifest in your relationship? What's he like in the classroom? What does he feel like?
In the regular classroom, he feels like, well, I know it, so I don't really have to show it that much. You know, I know you know that I know it, and so I'm going to turn in less than standard work.
And why do you care?
Because then when he sees his grades, because he's graded on being what he's actually doing, he's displeased.
And why do you care?
Because I care about him. He's a sweetheart.
But what difference does it make? What difference do his grades make? He's capable of doing more,
Right.
but he's not doing more, so
Right.
you feel like you should find some way of inspiring him to do more. And our question to you is, what's it to you? Not a trick
Because
question.
he feels good. He feels good. When he has achieved that, he feels good.
Well, then why not let his guidance system inspire him to do things that make him feel good? Because this is what's screwy with the system. What you're
Right.
saying is he feels better when he does better, but he's
Right.
choosing not to do better. So I need to step in and force him to do better so that he will feel better later. And we say, this is what is screwy with the way most people are approaching life. They've gotten so out of touch with their own guidance system. We think as a teacher, you would be much better off to let him experience the emotional consequences of his own choices. Those are the most powerful words that have ever been spoken. Let everyone experience the emotional consequences of their own behavior or of their own alignment or not alignment, but guide them to help them to understand why they feel like they feel and what they could do about it to feel better. In other words, if you motivate him in some way, if you get clever about something that you offer and you sort of spoon feed them through the hoops, then when you're finished spoon feeding them, now they need to find somebody else to spoon feed them. And no one ever comes out of that sort of a process ever feeling self-empowered.
And see, that's the confusion, because I think that dawned on me sometime this year, and so I wasn't sure what to do, how to replace that.
Well, what we would do is we would say, here is the potential for you. There's the potential for you to excel in this way. There is the potential for you to not excel in this way. This is a blank slate for you to do with it what you will. But then say to them, what I am discovering is that the better I feel, the better my life goes. And so if you feel perfectly happy with an E and mean it, then go for it and get it with my blessings. If you feel that a C is as much as you are reaching for and you are satisfied with that, then when you get that C, we'll have a party of celebration. If you want an A, I'll do everything in my power to help you to get there, but I want to say to you, I'm no longer holding any stakes in your choices. I'm wanting to facilitate you from where you are to where you want to be. And then say to them, if you've been getting E's and you're looking for a C, your movement to there will thrill me as much as if you were at a B and went to an A. In other words, I don't care where you end up. I just want you to feel better about where you are than where you've been. As you talk in those terms, now you're in sync with the laws of the universe. Now you're in sync with their own guidance system. But then you got to find some way to help them to understand this isn't about how I feel about how you feel. This is about how you feel. Right. And then say to them, I know people that have outrageous success that didn't get good grades, but they were happy not getting good grades.
That's a tough one in my system, because that's real tough. I
well,
mean, they're going to be posting grades on a weekly basis.
All we're encouraging, well, now you're worried about somebody grading you.
Well, actually, no. Yes, you're right. I'm worried about the peer pressure. How can you let this kid do that? And
well, what we've noticed is you can't do anything about it. You've got two choices. You can love them when they fail, or you can feel consternation when they fail. But you can't do very much about their failing or succeeding, because it isn't about anything you're doing in the classroom.
Okay.
So when you finally decide that you're going to be the true teacher that you are, then you're going to find a way to help these kids discover their own power. And when they discover their own power, they're going to create empires. They're going to be computer geniuses. They're going to be art masters. They're going to be musicianal magic. They're going to be things that the world is waiting for, because they are free of the thumb that the system has on them, which is the reason that they're acting out to begin with.
I recently went through a process, having a son, being in a process with my son's teacher. He wanted to hold him back, and the teacher was very negative. He had a wall of shame up where the kids would daily see the lessons that they weren't getting in, and my son's name was underneath each lesson. And unfortunately, this school has one teacher for that grade. So by keeping him back, he would have had the same teacher.
Well, we would promote him to freedom and take him out of the school if we were standing in your shoes.
So
we would say to the teacher, there is no possibility of my son improving his experience when your expectation is drawing from him shame.
Right.
Goodbye.
So, going through this and listening to you and living Abraham, and a group of us have the desire to start Sudbury School in Cheyenne. I went through the process of explaining the situation of my anger with this teacher to the principal, got that over with, and then was able to continue with my whole process. My concern right now is my son, and he's not going back to the 4th grade. He's going on to the 5th grade. That's it. And
in that school?
In that school.
In other words, you got clear enough about what you wanted
yes.
that you presented it in a way that someone who had the power could hear you?
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
In a very positive way.
Yes.
It was a wonderful experience to go through now that I'm sitting here.
Yes.
2 weeks away.
Yes.
So now we really have the desire to get this Sudbury School going. It's going to happen.
Why?
Well, that's the thing, is because I was beating the drum about the school system.
Right.
And my energy going into beating that drum.
In other words, you don't want to start a school because the other school's horrible.
Exactly.
Because your school will then be horrible too.
Right. And that's where I want to try to refocus.
But our question is, now your son is in the 5th grade with a new teacher. Why are you in such a hurry to start your Sudbury School? Do you not suspect that things will go well for him there either?
No, I don't. I think he'll be fine.
Yes.
Especially the focus I'm finding. It feels
yes.
very good.
Yes. So you're really not in a big hurry to get this school underway?
No. Although my son is. But he's very, very encouraged over the idea of this school. And in fact, telling other kids in the school about this new school that's going to open. So,
what do you think he's telling them about it?
How much freedom they can have, that they can do whatever they want and what they desire, and there won't be any. If they want to fish through the day, they can fish through the day. If they want to study anything they want to, they can. And
all right, now let us give you some more things to give him about the school.
Okay.
It is a school about self-empowerment. It's a school where you will get to decide what you want to do. It's a school where nothing moves unless you decide it will move. It's a school where you find out how clear you are, where you find out how sure you are. It's a school that will rise to the level of your desire. It will not lead you beyond that which you are. And it won't slap you down for being less than you're supposed to be. It's a school of self-empowerment. Because if you see someone in a situation of some sort of bondage or some sort of shame judgment, and then you say to them, feel how awful that feels, come over here and we won't do that to you. Now they're running away from that, but running from something not wanted is what motivation is. Coming to something wanted is what inspiration is. And you want your school to be one that inspires. In other words, you don't want to put flyers out that say, if you hate school, check this out. We fish all day here and it's free. The flyers that you put out want to say, if you're a self-starter, if you like the idea of being self-empowered, if you want to guide your own life, if you like the idea of being in charge of what comes to you, if you like the idea of being one who starts computer companies and who becomes the master, in other words, if you want to, at an early age, discover what those at the top of their game have figured out over a lifetime, then this is the school for you. We're just wanting you to get the sense of what it is about, because you feel a little bit to us like your son feels. Mm-hmm. In other words, this sucks. Anything's got to be better.
Right.
And we say that's not a very good plan for starting something. In other words, you want that inspiration to come. You want this drive coming from within you that says these are all powerful people and they all have such potential for joy. And we don't get to choose as an administration what their paths of joy are. They get to. And nobody can discover their path in a closed environment. You just can't decide. The young man who fished at Sudbury for year after year after year, every year, his father came and talked with the school founder and said, you know, I'm worried my son is fishing again this year. Every year the evaluation was the same. What's he doing? Fishing. How do you feel about that? The administrator said, fine. The father said, I'm getting increasingly worried. The school administrator said, you know, I've never known anyone who knows as much about fishing.